What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another video. I thought today we would take a look at market prices for a very interesting collection that is called the Saga Collection. Most of you guys probably know or are aware of the Saga Collection, and there's lots of different card backs. There's all kinds of different packaging for the Saga Collection. There's also Saga Legends, but I'm focusing only on ones that have that retro kind of Kenner style to the card backs. And I don't know exactly how many there were with this retro style Kenner card back, but there's a handful of figures. And I've picked out some graded examples as well as some ungraded examples so you can get a better sense of the price difference between them. And I've got some other kind of thoughts to share on them as it relates to certain characters. And I wanted to start off with one that I think very easily could be repackaged as a vintage collection figure, and that's IG-88 on this Saga Collections card. This came out in 2007, as you can see on this graded example. This was graded 9.0, but it was not uncirculated. Now, these Saga Collection figures came originally in retail with like a clamshell around it that was factory sealed with tape. And I used to have a few of these. I had a Bossk, I had the George Lucas Stormtrooper, which I'll show both of those here in a little while. But if it's still in that original clamshell with the factory tape and it hasn't been removed yet, you can actually send that entire item in to either AFA or Collector Archive Services, or UKG for that matter, and it will qualify as uncirculated grading because they'll take it out of that clamshell, they'll remove the factory tape, and grade the item like you see here. Now, this example was clearly not, because it does not have the uncirculated designation below the 9.0 on the grade. But it's an awesome figure, and I'm a little bit perplexed as to why Hasbro has not basically just straight repackaged this item. I mean, it's basically ready to go as a vintage collection figure. It might be articulation, it might be the mold doesn't exist anymore, I don't know, but I would imagine that whenever they release IG-11 and IG-88 properly in the vintage collection, they're probably going to use this mold. Maybe not. He does have kind of a strange body, like the torso has kind of some weird molding things, you know, just to allow it to turn and things like that. So I think that probably would maybe need to rework that a little bit or retool that. But even if they just took this exact figure mold and repurposed it for IG-88 or IG-11 with the Mandalorian card back, I would think it would be pretty passable with collectors. At least it would for me. But it's an awesome item. It's unpunched, obviously, and this one sold for $78 with free shipping. So you can get these pretty easily and pretty inexpensively already graded. This one just sold 4 days ago. So very nice item. Here's another one that just sold on August 15th. This one sold for a little bit more money. This one sold for $97, and again, this one was circulated, as you can see on the label here. So someone, you know, whoever sent these in, they had already been removed from that clamshell. But you know, as you can see here, here's what the clamshells look like when they were originally released. So it's got that Saga Collection logo on the front of this clamshell, along with an Ultimate Galactic Hunt kind of sticker there with special offer, and so it's got the Rebel insignia up there, and it was factory sealed. So again, you got to be careful that it's still factory sealed and not has not already been opened. But assuming it's like this, then it's going to be fairly pristine, I would think, inside that clamshell. And this one only sold for $20 plus shipping, so you can get these very inexpensively. And it's a nice budget way to collect if, you know, you don't want to, if there's certain, number one, if there's certain characters that you want, like IG-88, that haven't come out on the vintage collection yet, but you want a retro style card back to kind of match your vintage collection. Or maybe you don't want to spend some big money on TVC 1.0 like we've seen in recent market updates. They've just gotten so expensive. It seems like almost every character is passing the $100 mark. Well, this is another nice option for those of you who maybe are on a tighter budget but still want to collect some really nice figures that have a retro Kenner style card back. So that one sold for $20 plus shipping. Here's the Bossk, and again, Boss Bounty and others have certainly covered this figure. I would think that this figure is especially ready. To me, this is probably the best figure mold in terms of modern releases for Bossk. It's just an awesome figure, and it might be a little bit blocky is the only thing I can think of. It's not, maybe not tall enough, but I don't know. It's a pretty nice figure mold that I think could pretty easily pass within the vintage collection, and it looks awfully nice on that on that card back, and this one graded 8.5, and this one sold for $80 plus $15 shipping. Here's one that has not been graded. It's still in that factory clamshell. I would assume still factory sealed. That one sold for $36. So, again, it's not particularly expensive to pick these up. I think that's when I had my Saga Collection Bossk, I paid in that neighborhood, $30 to $40. And I sent mine into AFA, and it came back with an uncirculated 9.0. So they're not particularly hard to find. And here's one more example I just thought I'd show. Still in that factory seal clamshell, and that one sold for $25 plus shipping. And then another figure in that same line that I don't think this figure mold would pass very well for a vintage collection release, because I don't know what it is. The figure looks too bulky, maybe, or the hood just doesn't sit right on the figure's head. It maybe seems a little short to me, but it might just be my imagination. But this is the Imperial Hoth Stormtrooper, and this one was graded 9.0, and that one sold for $80 with one bid plus $15 shipping. Another figure in the line that obviously has already been done to death within the vintage collection line is this one. This is the 2007 Luke Bespin Fatigues, and this one had the full 3-tier grading, as you can see up there, and was also uncirculated. So very nice high grade example. And I haven't looked really closely as to what the major differences are between the Saga Collection and the Luke Bespin Vintage Collection, but obviously there's been 2 releases within the Vintage Collection, so no need to bring that one out. But this one sold for $90 plus shipping, and for the second release on the TVC, the reissue on the TVC, I would imagine that's about the same price that you pay for that graded. So just an interesting data point there. This is another one. This one graded 9.25 on the modern scale, same figure, and that one sold for $81 plus shipping. So again, not particularly expensive relative to some of the TVC 1.0 figures like Luke Bespin. Another figure that I really like, that I know that the face sculpt would probably need some work, but the actual body and the body sculpt for this Han Solo in his Hoth outfit is really nice. I love that removable helmet. The rest of the figure looks amazing. Look at the boots on him. Just excellent detail to the figure. It's just his face doesn't particularly look like Harrison Ford. But this one was rated 9.0, and that one sold for $80 plus $15 shipping on August 15th. And then for that same figure, still in that factory case, he's not expensive at all. You can pick that up. This one sold for $12.50 in early August. So very easy to pick that one up. And then this is one of the more desirable ones. This was I believe a mail order exclusive. And this is the Saga Collection, George Lucas in the Stormtrooper outfit. This one was rated 9.25. And I had this one at one point and sold it off, and it ended up getting lost in the mail. It never arrived overseas. So I had to refund the buyer, unfortunately. But this one sold for $162.50. And the price has held fairly steady over the last few years. It's gone up a little bit, but I've seen them sell, I'd say on the low end in the 120s in a 9.0 or above grade. And this one sold for $162.50. So it's gone up a little bit, but not terribly. It hasn't gone up terribly over the last few years. And then here, as a comparison again, here is an ungraded example. This one sold on June 21st, so it's a little bit older data. But that one sold for $45. The only thing I'll caution you on with any of these white figures that are in the Saga Collection, I believe there's a Stormtrooper as well as a Biker Scout also, but the plastic on these yellows very, very easily. You'll see a lot of yellowing, especially around the chest portion. I don't know what it is. It's just some kind of defect in the type of plastic that the accelerated yellowing, it happens even more than with some Kenner figures. So just something to keep in mind to zoom in on the photos for these white figures within the Saga Collection, because they can and will yellow sometimes. But anyway, that one sold for $45 plus shipping. Another one that has already been redone in the Vintage Collection is Luke Skywalker and his X-Wing gear. This one was a very high grade. It was a 9.5, and the price reflected that, so it sold for $114.50 plus shipping. But obviously, this one came out, in 2019, I believe, within the Vintage Collection, so pretty easy to pick that one up for the TVC version. And then again, a comparison for a clamshell version that's ungraded. really nice shape, it looks like, and still factory sealed. That one sold for $12. So, you know, again, it's not hard to find these and grade them yourself, as long as you make sure that they're in good shape. And here's what I was going to talk about with some of the other figures in the Saga collection. This was a lot of 5 that sold for $55, and it had the Luke X-Wing, Greedo, Han in his trench coat, and then 2 biker scouts. Now you can see in this bottom biker scout right here, his torso is starting to yellow pretty well. And I remember getting one for my son for his birthday. He wanted like a Saga version of the biker scout for some reason. And just between when I bought it and about less than a year later, the torso turned really yellow, and it was not like sitting out in the sun or anything like that. So that's a very common defect, especially for that biker scout. So just keep that in mind, that that you got to look at the photos really closely for that biker scout. But anyway, again, that one sold for $55 plus $24 shipping for that huge lot. And then one other lot are 3 figures. This was Princess Leia Organa in the indoor combat poncho. That's another one we hadn't looked at yet. And then 2 others that we've already taken a look at separately. But for that lot, it was $60 with free shipping. So it's just a line that I hadn't talked about previously, but I think especially with IG-88 and Bossk, those 2, and I think to a certain extent also the Han Solo and Hoth gear, those are 3 really good figures that have excellent, character molds, and I think that they are nice additions to anyone's collection, especially if you have, a budget and you want to kind of keep the cost down. So just some ideas for those of you out there, and to give you a sense of what those prices look like, both graded and ungraded. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're new to the channel, welcome, and please consider subscribing. And as always, thank you so much to my existing subscribers for watching, and I'll be back soon.